Rozena, would you like to tell me why you decided to make a film out of the writing circle?
I think most people who read my work describe it as vivid, and the ways in which description about the friendships, the relationships, and how the women sort of dissociate. For example, Isabel. And I think a film that shows the intricacies and complexities of relationships between and among women and the experiences of violence in the context of South Africa, I think is important to show.
Right.
Yeah.
And why is it important at this time in South Africa's history to deal with this sort of story?
Because I think, nationally and internationally, we've had an array of issues that has been shown in films. And violence against women has always been one of those sort of, we had the situation during the apartheid years where we were told as revolutionaries and activists, you should wait to talk about this, other things first, the anti-apartheid fight first, and this will come later, And I think people have also realized post the first democratic elections that nothing is going to happen for us just because leaders say so.
Right.
That we should fight as women and as people interested enough in the topic addressing violence against women to make sure that these stories are heard.
Right. Now, you've been in South Africa for a book tour to launch your book in South Africa. What has the feedback been?
It's been good. I mean, it's been really great, actually. I think when you're writing something like The Writing Circle, which is very different to Rose's District 6, you're not expecting people to treat it as a happy book, because it isn't. It isn't something that you can run around the neighborhood and show the other person, oh, she's used this description of Cook Sisters or Coon Carnival or whatever. I think my sense is from talking to people who are friends and peers is that for them it's the fact that it's spoken about, it's dealt with. There are 5 women's perspectives, women who are friends, women who are also university educated, which is sort of unlike the image that there is, I think, internationally about the downtrodden, oppressed black women for whom people feel sorry.
Right.
So here is a story that is about 5 women who, through their own struggles, have gone to university, but you actually show the extent to which violence against women have affected and in some way shaped their lives. And I think also I'm just tired of women being treated as statistics.
Right.
So here we have a very, very different situation, and I think the determination that the women themselves show sometimes, and also some of the pains that they go through, is also revealed in the process.
Right. I think what impressed me about the book was that you took 5 women from 5 different social, racial and economic backgrounds and told the story from their perspective. I think it gave a very good overall picture of the dynamics in South Africa, particularly with women today. How do you feel a film of The Writing Circle can impact and actually benefit women positively in this country?
Well, I think, because I'm from Cape Town and the book is set in Cape Town, I mean, it does show how the women know each other, like Jazz and Isabel work together. Carmen is actually dating Jazz's brother, and Beauty met Isabel when she was at university. So it's not just taking 5 random women who don't know anything about one another. I think one of the great things about growing up in Cape Town for me, first in District 6 and generally sort of on the Cape Flats when we moved, is the fact that there is ways in which sort of the Muslim, the Cape Malay, the coloured, the black, some of those identities merge, and the Indian, whether it's, Indians that have come, during the early 1900s or afterwards, but that sense of showing the culture and the identity and the kind of flavour of South Africa that we see.
Right.
And I think the women themselves show their own sense of identity, because there's this very sort of monolithic notion of who South Africans are. We're either white or we're black.
Right.
And I think, for me, I'm very sort of keen and very committed to showing aspects of culture and identity, and I think that's important to show in the film.
Right. Are you going to be actively involved in the production of the film?
I hope so. Yes,
Right.
I will be. Yes, I will be. Yes, I will be.
Good. Okay. And it's obviously something you're passionate about, because you said that you're now living in Canada, but your origins are in South Africa.
Yeah, well, I mean, I consider myself living here for part of the year, however small or large, depending on what I'm doing.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I lived here until I was 25. and I come here now every year, usually for 2 to 3 months at a time, sometimes twice a year. And I think the fact is violence against women is international. I have to say the writing circle is not only about violence, it's about friendship. Violence is like the opening part of the book, and obviously one has to be very careful with how one shows aspects of violence in a film. But it's about friendship. It's also about ways in which people who are 5 women come together and show the relationships between and among one another. There are men who are their brothers, who are their lovers, who are their friends, a former husband who visits. And so we see really how 5 women's lives are shaped by a country they've lived in and grown up in. And the fact is violence is part of that.
Right. Now, you say that violence against women is often hidden and kept secret within families. I mean, I know within my family, my stepfather was very violent towards my mother, but that wasn't really talked about. What in your background has prompted you to write this story? Obviously you've worked as a social worker and you've been involved with rape crisis. What really made you want to write this story and get it out there?
Well, I think, over the years when, I was actually at school when I met Anne Main, to whom the book is dedicated, and she's the founder member of Rape Crisis. She's one of 3 or 4 people who started Rape Crisis in 1976. And I think when I was at school during the 70s, our teachers, many of whom were involved in anti-apartheid politics, just would not let us talk about it or address us. It wasn't seen as important. It wasn't the kind of talk, discussion, activism that was important. And I think I'm just the kind of person, when somebody treats what I say or what I think or an act or an event as something that shouldn't be talked about, then I feel I definitely have the need to talk about it. So a group of girls at school, we were introduced to Anne Main, and we had this women's group that was going on, and we talked about things. And by the time I joined Rape Crisis, I was in my first year, and during all those years of being at university, doing all kinds of pavement politics and anti-apartheid work, I think I became more aware that people in leadership positions in the UDF did not want to deal with it. There was a lot of rape and sexual assault by top revolutionaries, by people in very high positions. When I finished university, I worked at Groote Hospital, and I saw my fair share in emergency and gynecology, emergency unit. And when Women Against Repression, which was the first black feminist organization, was started, we focused on violence against women as women who were involved in anti-apartheid and anti-capitalist politics, because nobody else wanted to. For me to write something like this, it's not so much of it's not really about a personal history. For me, the personal is political. And I don't want to say that as a cliche. I think it's more to do with the fact that for so many years in this country we are told, this will be dealt with later, this will be addressed later. I don't think fiction should always be about lovely, wonderful things and daffodils and reading literature that is about other countries, for example England, because we were all raised sort of here on the British system. At the same time, I think, when literature like The Writing Circle becomes a film, it is also about a broader audience and raising awareness through a film, where people can actually physically engage with their own sense of what they think South Africa is. And for women living here, it's that sense of, I'm no longer a statistic. People know what's happened here, and this has been dealt with or shown because it's important. And I think that's what we need.
So now, if individuals or groups, say, wanted to be involved with the production of the film, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, we'll put our website, I'll put my website on here and the information and details. We in the early stages, obviously, so for anybody who shows any kind of interest or want to know how the production is actually going to work, or who has any interest, you may please contact us and let us know what your interest is exactly.
Okay, thank you, Rozena.